El Salvador, with a surface area of 21,000 square kilometers, is the smallest country in Central America. With a population of 7 million, living in an area half the size of Switzerland, it's the most densely populated in the region. Nearly 1 in 2 Salvadorians live below the poverty line of $1 a day. Guaranteeing economic and social development that is both equitable and sustainable continues to represent a major concern for El Salvador. Supplying rural settlements with functioning water supply and wastewater services is a particular challenge. According to the Pan American Health Organization, the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean treat a mere 19% of their collected wastewater before releasing it into the waterways. Whereas the construction of drinking water systems is considered to be a social and political priority, the treatment of wastewater is not seen as an absolute imperative. In El Salvador, only 2% of sewage undergoes some form of treatment. The rest is directly fed back into the country's streams and rivers. It's estimated that 90% of El Salvador's 360 rivers are polluted. An analysis of water quality in rural areas found that 43% of tap water and 85% of the drinking water from wells contains fecal contamination. Every year, some 12,000 children die from diarrhea.
Wastewater, a 21st century challenge. San José Las Flores, a community in El Salvador, takes action.
Surrounded by hills and mountains in the northeast of the Chalatenango department and in a distance of only 96 kilometers from the capital San Salvador, lies the small, picturesque village of San José Las Flores. The Civil War caused villagers to abandon it in the early 1980s. However, by 1986, residents from the surrounding areas began to repopulate the village. Today, it's again home to 2,200 people.
You can't imagine what the village was like when we returned. Roofs and houses were damaged. The floor was covered with knee-deep waste. The village looked like a giant rubbish dump. Sewage from the latrines was seeping directly onto the streets.
Over time, solutions were found to the food and housing shortages. However, sickness and disease continue to be a major problem, with children the hardest hit.
The huge cholera epidemic that struck the village was particularly bad. 37 children died from diarrhea because we had no medication to treat them, and due to the Civil War, no access to health centers.
The community pulled together and used their collective resources to devise solutions that would ensure the survival of the village.
During a community meeting, it was decided that action had to be taken immediately to deal with the village's sanitation problems. Everything was lacking, starting from an appropriate disposal of human waste to hygiene education, right up to access to safe drinking water. The village asked SDC to help them with the construction of a sewage system. SDC agreed and proposed the building of a wastewater treatment plant at the same time.
Finding funds for the wastewater project was one of our primary concerns. The idea came from the people themselves. They were sick of seeing the streets flooded with sewage and did not want to continue to put their health at risk. Thanks to the Swiss support, we were able to tackle our sanitation problem.
This led to the idea of building a sewage treatment plant. The wastewater is collected in a sewage system, pre-treated and then purified by passing through a septic tank and a so-called biofilter. The project was implemented in 3 phases. First, the sewage system was built, followed by the treatment plant, and finally the drinking water supply was upgraded and expanded. The initiative for the project came from the people themselves. The Salvadorian aid organization, Provida, was mandated by SDC to monitor and supervise the implementation of the project.
We divided ourselves into 5 teams, with 22 people each. It was my job to coordinate the teams. We established a time schedule for the work and appointed a leader for each team. It was his job to ensure that the villagers contributed their share. Each and every villager was expected to work on the project for a total of 90 days. Provida worked equally focused on the highly sensitive issue of hygiene education in close collaboration with the community.
Local residents learnt the correct handling of their wastewater at home, which in turn helps to ensure a proper functioning of the treatment plant. I first rinse the plates in a basin. All the leftovers I collect in a plastic bag and throw it into the rubbish bin. The sewage grid is the first stage in the treatment process. This is where coarse materials such as stones, bags and leaves are removed. The wastewater then passes through the grit trap, which is made up of 2 channels. Because of its weight, all non-organic solid matter sinks to the bottom of the trap. The trap is emptied regularly and the waste disposed of. In the septic tank, the organic matter undergoes the anaerobic stage of the sludge treatment. Here the sludge is separated from the water.
The tank performs a range of functions. The key ones are the sedimentation of the sludge particles and the purification of the water by anaerobic bacteria. During this process, lighter organic matter floats to the surface. The sludge that accumulates at the bottom of the tank is cleared out every 2 to 3 months. The tank is opened once a fortnight, and all the organic matter floating at the top is sieved off. This is then dried to make compost. The sludge that is removed from the bottom of the tank is also composted. Once I mix it with soil and straw, it takes about 3 months for the sludge to become organic fertilizer.
By the time the wastewater has been treated in the septic tank, it is completely deoxygenated. Oxygen is, however, important for the next purification stage, where aerobic bacteria break down the organic matter. An oxygen cascade is used to reoxygenate the wastewater.
The wastewater collects oxygen as it makes its way down the cascade.
The wastewater then passes through a biofilter. This consists of a pit which is lined with clay to make it watertight. Above the clay, the pit contains an 80-centimeter thick layer of volcanic rock. The plants from the biofilter channel oxygen from the air to the soil via the roots, and this activates the aerobic bacteria. These bacteria are responsible for the breakdown and nitrification of the organic matter.
Thanks to their lush foliage and their height of about 2.5 meters, the plants absorb lots of water and supply the wastewater with oxygen while it's being cleaned.
Absorba más agua y le pueda inyectar más oxígeno.
Having passed the biofilter, the purified wastewater seeps away into the soil. In a next step, the people will have to choose what to grow to best use this treated water.
There are many reasons why this system is so valuable to us. We can use the treated wastewater to irrigate our vegetables and crops. We don't even need any fertilizer anymore because the water already contains enough nutrients.
The next challenge that faces San José Las Flores is guaranteeing the sustainability of the system. The hillside location of the plant is an advantage. The use of gravity cuts down on operating costs. The local council is in charge of collecting the sewage fees. To ensure that the community would pay a fee for these services, they were informed from the start of the project about alternative solutions and the correspondent maintenance costs. Another important factor was the community's active participation in all decision-making and implementation processes.
Every now and again, problems arise in collecting fees. This is not because the villagers don't see the point of paying, but because they already live on very limited resources. However, they do contribute their part, even though it's often a struggle for them.
Every month, each of the 126 families who are connected to the system pay $1 for the drinking water supply and $1 for the sewage and wastewater treatment plant. Another source of revenue will come from the sale of products generated by the plant, such as Taiwanese sedge to feed cattle, organic fertilizers, as well as yields from the crops irrigated by the purified wastewater.
The modest income generated by the plant contributes to cover the operating and maintenance costs. The project will pay for itself as long as we take maximum advantage of all the opportunities available to us.
Thanks to the sewage system and the wastewater treatment plant, the living conditions of the people of San José Las Flores have improved. We have made progress. Today the streets are clean because the wastewater is channeled directly into the sewage system.
There are fewer cases of gastrointestinal diseases and fewer children are undernourished. According to the health clinic statistics, the number of patients being treated for diarrhea has fallen dramatically.
Clearly, hygiene practices and the way of handling water in the village have improved. A comparison of untreated and treated wastewater reveals that the villagers now have access to appropriate water to irrigate their crops. This treatment plant could be built thanks to a motivated and well-organized community. It allows the residents of San José Las Flores to enjoy a better quality of life. In addition, treated water is returned to nature, which will allow benefiting from safe drinking water in the future.
This is an innovative project. San José Las Flores needed it urgently. However, a project like this should be rolled out across El Salvador to prevent the country's watercourses becoming as badly polluted as the Salguate River.
At the start of the 21st century, the challenge faced by other communities is to understand the close connection between clean drinking water and the treatment of wastewater. In order to achieve better health and living conditions for its communities, municipalities must tackle the problem of sewage disposal and treatment. We invite you to visit villages that protect their environment and their residents and return clean water to nature, just the way it is done by San José Las Flores.